I'm Ruth and I work for NHS Bristol in the Public Health Department. I'm a Senior Health Promotion Specialist with a specific interest in domestic abuse.
Hi, my name's Alex. I work with Ruth at the NHS in Public Health, and we raise awareness for domestic abuse, and we work with other agencies as well to raise awareness.
My name is Dave McCallum. I'm a Detective Chief Inspector with the police. I lead a unit called the Public Protection Unit for Bristol. I mean, domestic abuse is hugely pervading. It really has a very significant detrimental effect on society generally. If you look at the numbers of people who will be affected, 1 in 4 women, it doesn't just affect them, it affects their extended family, it affects their children, and fundamentally in a way that often people will never recover from. It very often goes hand in hand with cruelty to children directly, as well as children being affected by witnessing domestic violence in the first place. It accounts for between 40 and 70% of all murders of women.
Controlling behaviour. Domestic violence is all about power and control of one person over the other. And controlling behaviour can make the person initially feel like they're loved. So your boyfriend or your girlfriend might be calling you a lot on your mobile phone to say, where are you? I miss you. I love you. I want to see you. I want to be with you all of the time. And if you're in a new relationship, that makes you feel really good. It can make you feel really good because you think, oh, this person, they really want to spend a lot of time with me. Then as the time goes on, if this person is perpetrating domestic abuse, it does become evident that actually this person wants to control you, and it doesn't stop, and they always want to know where you are, and then they may decide that they don't want you to go out anymore and see your friends. They may say that why don't you come out with me tonight? You don't want to see your friends. There are perhaps some friends that say things about you behind your back. They may make things up to make you feel bad and to make you feel like your friends aren't really your friends. Just a few of the things that could happen.
Perpetrators have said that they don't see a pregnant woman as a beautiful vessel who's having their baby, but a misshapen, ugly form. And therefore, within their heads, they feel that they can damage that misshapen object. The impact on a child living with domestic abuse actually starts in utero, when because there are stress factors, and it impacts on every aspect of the child's development. And what we do know is that the longer a child lives with domestic abuse, the worse the outcome. They may in fact go the absolute other way because they have lived with abuse and violence and they are determined not to do it.
The amount of actual money that is spent directly on addressing domestic violence is absolutely not proportionate to the size of the problem that domestic violence is. Of that there is no doubt whatsoever. On one level, look to bring them in front of the court and have them dealt with criminally. On another, look to deal with their alcohol problems, their mental health problems, get them into employment. There are all sorts of aggravating factors that make it more likely that perpetrators will perpetrate domestic violence. If police officers attend a domestic incident and they suspect a crime, then they pretty much have to make an arrest. And that will be even if it's completely against the wishes of the victim, and often it is. Certainly young girls going into starting relationships should ask themselves, is their boyfriend happy for them to go out without them? Or do they pressurise them into staying in unless they're with them? Do they want to look at all their text messages on their phone? Do they insist on having access to everything in their Facebook account or whatever else? How much do they allow them, their own freedom of expression, to be their own people? And how much is it starting to become a bit suffocating? How much is it they don't feel that they can do what they want to do or see who they want to see?
What we do know is that young people's boyfriend-girlfriend relationships can be immensely intense, and you're desperate to please and to accept and to... but I think really basing it on a balanced respect is what it's about.
where a woman had been subjected to a lot of very serious domestic violence over quite a period from her boyfriend. She finally plucked up the courage to relieve him properly. She'd made several attempts before which had been unsuccessful. She left and went to stay with a friend. She was, at the time, she was 8 months pregnant with his child. What happened was that she got an order, a non-molestation order keeping him away from her, and because he breached that, he was sent to prison. When he was in prison, he sent her a number of letters, and basically, to cut a long story short, when he came out of prison, he lay in wait for her. He knew an address that she went to on a regular basis, so he waited literally in bushes near that address. Her father drove her everywhere because they were concerned that he would stalk her and he would attack her. And basically, when she came out, she got out of the car to go to the address, she'd been to the address, she got into the car to go back to her friend's house, and he jumped out of the bushes, jumped into the back passenger seat behind her, and without going into detail, he tried to kill her with a knife. She ran off down the road, he chased her, he caught her, he tried to kill her unborn baby, and he then stole the car that she was in, drove it at 120 miles an hour the wrong way down the motorway, ended up being arrested, and is now serving a life sentence. But he was prepared, I don't think there's any doubt that he was prepared to, and he had every intention, he wanted to kill her, and he wanted to make sure that he killed their child, and then I think he was going to kill himself. And it was only that he didn't have the guts in the end to I think, plough head on into a car coming the other way, probably his intention. Believe it or not, both mother and child were, absolutely fine. I mean, she's got some very nasty scars, but her child survived, and she does, and she's now living away. I mean, she'll always be very heavily traumatised by what happened, but physically she was fine. Well, I mean, I think the most important thing of all is that everyone in society should not be tolerant of domestic abuse. Actually, we are quite tolerant of it. Because we see it as something that's private, a lot of people do, they do say, well, that's up to her. If she doesn't want to leave him, if she's prepared to put up with that, well, that's up to her, isn't it? That's not my business. From a police point of view, if you actually are walking past a house and you can hear what you think is domestic violence going on, please ring 999, tell the police what is happening, and then when the police ask you for a statement, make one.
When we're working with victims and survivors of domestic abuse, it's actually to get across the message that we believe them. We also need to say that it's not their fault, because a victim is always told that it's their fault. I wouldn't be treating you like this if you hadn't pressed my buttons, if you hadn't done something. So I believe you, it's not your fault, and there's help out there.
If you would like more help and support around domestic violence, perhaps you experienced it yourself or you'd like to support a friend, there's the National Domestic Abuse Helpline that you can call 24 hours a day, and it's confidential. The number is 0808 2000 247. You can also call Childline 24 hours a day on 0800 1111. They're national numbers, but in Bristol we've got an organisation called Off the Record, and it's a local counselling service for young people, and the number for that is 0117 927 9120. All of those telephone numbers are on the Bristol Domestic Abuse Forum website, which is www.bdaf.org.uk, and there are many other agencies there, and there's lots of advice as well, so if you need any support or you'd just like to find out a bit more, have a look at the BDAF website.